Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be doing the Mary Russell Holmes tag. Thank you to Larry Has Opinions for tagging me on this. I love your videos. If you haven't checked out his channel, you definitely should. He has some pretty great videos. The original tag is from an Instagram post by Rodella Hardwick, which I'll link down below, and I encourage you to check that out as well. Each week on my channel, I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good in the world. I'll make a donation and I'll encourage you to check it out and like, share, follow, or donate as you are inspired. This week's lift up comes from commenter shoutout. Joe Smith recommended that we check out Women for Women International. Women for Women International's global community invests in women survivors of war and conflict, providing them with social and economic skills to transform their lives. Women pass their knowledge to those around them, creating a more just world. A world where every woman's voice, role, and contribution are visible and valued. So I'll make a donation and I'll include their information down below. Thank you, Joe Smith, for commenting and sharing this organization with us. If any of you have an organization that you would like for me to check out and lift up, please leave it in the comments below. I'm behind on my tag videos, but I'm happy to bring you this one. And so I will also tag for this Mary Russell Holmes tag, Jennifer Loves Books, Craig and David at Shelf Possessed, and Ben at Doom Antidote. All right, so let's get to the tag. I modified the tag slightly because I'm in a phase of my reading where I'm a kid in a candy shop called BookTube, and I am just like wanting to find recommendations everywhere. And I want to learn about books that I didn't know existed. I want to hear reviews, all of the things. And so instead of answering the tag prompts with books that I'm recommending to you, I'm answering the tag prompts with books that I have found that I want to add to my TBR. So one of the things that I would ask from you, dear viewer, is have you read these books and what did you think of them? Or do you have other recommendations to give me as well? Always looking for those. So now we'll get to the questions. Prompt 1, The Beekeeper's Apprentice. And each of the prompts is named for a book in the Mary Russell Holmes series. So number 1, The Beekeeper's Apprentice, a book you read before you were 18 that has had a lasting effect on your life. Since I'm over 18 by 29 years, obviously I can't go back and have a TBR, but this is the book that I wish that I had read when I was 18. This was recommended by Audrey on Perpetual Pages. I'll put that video down below. So the book that I want for this prompt is Obi is Man Enough by Shuler Bayar. This is a coming-of-age story about transgender tween Obi who didn't think being himself would cause such a splash. When Obi knew his transition would have ripple effects, he has to leave his swim coach, his pool, and his best friends. But it's time for Obi to find where he truly belongs. As Obi dives into a new team, though, things are strange. Obi always felt at home in the water, but now he can't get his old coach out of his head. Even worse are the bullies that wait in the locker room and on the pool deck. Luckily, Obi has family behind him, and maybe some new friends too, including Charlie, his first crush. Obi is ready to prove he can be one of the fastest boys in the water, to his coach, his critics, and his biggest competition, himself. So Perpetual Pages gave a rave review about this, so I definitely think this would be a great fit for prompt number 1. Prompt number 2, A Monstrous Regiment of Women, a book about feminism. Bonus points if it talks about British suffragettes. So the book that I'm choosing to add to my TBR for this prompt is Playing in the Dark, Whiteness and the Literary Imagination by Toni Morrison. Morrison ponders the effect that living in a historically racialized society has had on American writing in the 19th and 20th centuries. She argues that race has become a metaphor, a way of referring to forces, events, and forms of social decay, economic division, and human panic. Her compelling point is that the central characteristics of American literature, individualism, masculinity, and the insistence upon innocence, coupled to an obsession with figurations of death and hell, are responses to a dark and abiding Africanist presence. Through her investigation of Black characters, narrative strategies, and idiom in the fiction of white American writers, Morrison provides a daring perspective that is sure to alter conventional notions about American literature. She considers Willa Cather and the impact of race on concept and plot, turns to Poe, Hawthorne, and Melville to examine the Black force that figures so significantly in the literature of early America, and discusses the implications of the Africanist presence in the heart of Huckleberry Finn. A final chapter on Ernest Hemingway is a brilliant exposition of the racial subtext that glimmers beneath the surface plots of his fiction. So I definitely want to read this one. And I would love to know if, as with all of these, but have you read this? It sounds really important. Okay, prompt number 3. A Letter of Mary, a book where cars are central to the plot, or a main character is a car enthusiast. And this was really hard to find because, like, if you Google car books, then you get a lot of like car maintenance books or hot cars of the 90s or whatever. But I found the perfect book for this prompt on Cozin's channel at Always Doing. That is Semi-Queer, Inside the World of Gay, Trans, and Black Truck Drivers by Anne Ballet. The blurb says, long-haul trucking is linked to almost every industry in America, yet somehow the working-class drivers behind the big rigs remain largely hidden from public view. Gritty, inspiring, and often devastating oral histories of gay, transsexual, and minority truck drivers allow award-winning author Anne Ballet to shed new light on the harsh realities of truckers' lives behind the wheel. A licensed commercial truck driver herself, Ballet discovers that for people routinely subjected to prejudice, hatred, and violence in their hometowns and in the job market, trucking can provide an opportunity for safety, welcome isolation, and a chance to be themselves, even as the low-wage work is fraught with tightening regulations, constant surveillance, danger, and exploitation. The narratives of minority and queer truckers underscore the working-class struggle to earn a living while preserving one's safety, dignity, and selfhood. Through the voices of drivers from marginalized communities who spend 11 to 14-hour days hauling American commodities in treacherous weather across mountain passes, Semi-Queer reveals the stark differences between the trucking industry's crushing labor practices and the perseverance of its most at-risk workers. Okay, prompt number 4. The More, a book with a healthy, established relationship, continuing in love, not falling in love. This one, oh my goodness, this one was so hard to find because often that's a element of a story that you find after the fact, or at least I do, and a lot of romance novels, for example, are about falling in love. So I had several, this one this video is 2 days later because of this prompt and my stubbornness on making it a TBR response instead of a book I had already read. But I have to say, Bob the Booker saved the day, because I found, as I was cruising through BookTube trying to find an answer to this prompt, he has a Valentine's Day tribute to romantic couples in literature. Ha! And I found a book that fits this prompt, and that is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. And this is about Agnes and William Shakespeare. Then I also ran across Nikki at Red Dot Reads, shared in this opinion and imaged William Shakespeare as Joseph Fiennes from when he played Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love. So I don't know if you've seen that. But anyway, so now that'll be in my mind because I enjoy Joseph Fiennes. So here's the blurb for Hamnet. On a summer's day in 1596, a young girl in Stratford-upon-Avon takes to her bed with a sudden fever. Her twin brother Hamnet searches everywhere for help. Why is nobody at home? Their mother Agnes is over a mile away in the garden where she grows medicinal herbs. Their father is working in London. Neither parent knows that Hamnet will not survive the week. Hamnet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright, a boy whose life has been all but forgotten, but whose name was given to one of the most celebrated plays ever written. So I'm looking forward to this. I know it was all over BookTube, and I hadn't yet gotten it on my list, and now it is. So great. Book number 5. O Jerusalem, a book that retells theology or mythology. The book I've chosen for this is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This has actually been on my TBR since October when I heard it recommended on a Writing Excuses podcast on which the author and some others were guests. So I'll link that down below. I don't know if you've checked out the Writing Excuses podcast. It's a pretty good one. So the blurb for Gods of Jade and Shadow. This sounds really intriguing, I gotta say. The jazz age is in full swing, but Cassiopeia Tunn is too busy cleaning the floors of her wealthy grandfather's house to listen to any fast tunes. Nevertheless, she dreams of a life far from her dusty small town in southern Mexico, a life she can call her own. Yet this new life seems as distant as the stars, until the day she finds a curious wooden box in her grandfather's room. She opens it and accidentally frees the spirit of the Mayan god of death, who requests her help in recovering his throne from his treacherous brother. Failure will mean Cassiopeia's demise, but success could make her dreams come true. In the company of the strangely alluring god and armed with her wits, Cassiopeia begins an adventure that will take her on a cross-country odyssey from the jungles of Yucatan to the bright lights of Mexico City and deep into the darkness of the Mayan underworld. Prompt 6. Justice Hall, a book about the senseless loss of life. For this, I have chosen The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. The blurb says, "It is 1939 Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier and will be busier still. By her brother's graveside, Liesel's life is changed when she picks up a single object, partially hidden in the snow. It is the Gravedigger's Handbook, left there by accident, and it is her first act of book thievery. So begins a love affair with books and words, as Liesel, with the help of her accordion-playing foster father, learns to read. Soon she is stealing books from Nazi book burnings, the mayor's wife's library, wherever there are books to be found. But these are dangerous times. When Liesel's foster family hides a Jew in their basement, Liesel's world is both opened up and closed down." In superbly crafted writing that burns with intensity, award-winning author Markus Zusak has given us one of the most enduring stories of our time. Prompt 7. A book about travel and or learning a language. And this book I know that I've seen on multiple channels and I can't recall which ones I saw it on, so I apologize for that, but that is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. The blurb says, "Who says you can't run away from your problems? You are a failed novelist about to turn 50. A wedding invitation arrives in the mail. Your boyfriend of the past 9 years is engaged to someone else. You can't say yes, it would be too awkward, and you can't say no, it would look like defeat. On your desk are a series of invitations to half-baked literary events around the world. Question: how do you arrange to skip town? Answer: you accept them all. What would possibly go wrong? Arthur Less will almost fall in love with Paris, almost fall to his death in Berlin, barely escape to a Moroccan ski chalet from a Saharan sandstorm, accidentally book himself as the only writer in residence at a Christian retreat center in southern India, and encounter on a desert island in the Arabian Sea the last person on earth he wants to face. Somewhere in there, he will turn 50. Through it all, there is his first love, and there is his last. Because despite all these mishaps, missteps, misunderstandings, and mistakes, Less is above all a love story. A scintillating satire of the American abroad, a rumination on time and the human heart, a bittersweet romance of chances lost by an author the New York Times has hailed as inspired, lyrical, elegiac, ingenious, as well as too sappy by half. Less shows a writer at the peak of his talent, raising the curtain on our shared human comedy. Prompt 8. Locked Rooms, a book where dreams are central to the plot. For this one, I found The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin, a classic science fiction novel by one of the greatest writers of the genre, set in a future world where one man's dreams control the fate of humanity. In a future world racked by violence and environmental catastrophes, George Orr wakes up one day to discover that his dreams have the ability to alter reality. He seeks help from Dr. William Haber, a psychiatrist who immediately grasps the power George wields. Soon, George must preserve reality itself as Dr. Haber becomes adept at manipulating George's dreams for his own purposes. The Lathe of Heaven is an eerily prescient novel from an award-winning author, Ursula K. Le Guin, that masterfully addresses the dangers of power and humanity's self-destructiveness. Questioning the nature of reality itself, it is a classic of the science fiction genre. Prompt 9. The Language of Bees, The God of the Hive, a book about artists and making art. For this I have chosen An Artist of the Floating World by Kazuo Ishiguro. In the face of misery in his homeland, the artist Masuji Ono was unwilling to devote his art solely to the celebration of physical beauty. Instead, he put his work in the service of the imperialist movement that led Japan into World War II. Now, as the mature Ono struggles with the aftermath of that war, his memories of his youth and of the floating world, the nocturnal world of pleasure, entertainment, and drink, offer him both escape and redemption, even as they punish him for betraying his early promise. Indicted by society for its defeat and reviled for his past aesthetics, he relives the passage through his personal history that makes him both a hero and a coward, and above all, a human being. All right, we're getting close. Book 10. This is for Pirate King, a book about the production of a film, play, musical opera, and I have the perfect response to this, which was recommended by David on Shelf Possessed. That is Song of Spider-Man, the inside story of the most controversial musical in Broadway history by Glenn Berger. Song of Spider-Man is playwright Glenn Berger's story of a theatrical dream, or nightmare, come true. Renowned director Julie Taymor picked Berger to co-write the book for a $25 million Spider-Man musical. Together, along with U2's Bono and Edge, they would shape a work that was technically daring and emotionally profound, with a story fueled by the hero's quest for love and the villain's quest for revenge. Or at least, that's what they hoped for. But when the charismatic producer Tony Adams died suddenly, the show began to lose its footing. Soon the budget was ballooning, financing was evaporating, and producers were jumping ship or getting demoted. And then came the injuries, and then came the word of mouth about the show itself. What followed was a pageant of foul-ups, falling outs, ever more harrowing mishaps, and a whole lot of malfunctioning spider legs. This circus rock and roll drama, with its $65 million price tag, had become more of a spectacle than its creators ever wished for. During the show's unprecedented 7 months of previews, the company's struggles to reach opening night inspired breathless tabloid coverage and garnered international notoriety. Through it all, Berger observed the chaos with his signature mix of big ambition and self-deprecating humor. Song of Spider-Man records the journey of this cast and crew as a hilarious memoir about friendship, collaboration, the foibles of hubris, and the power of art to remind us that we are alive. Okay, dos más. Number 11, The Garment of Shadows, a book that uses the amnesia trope. For this, I've selected The True Queen by Zen Cho. In the follow-up to the delightful Regency fantasy novel Sorcerer to the Crown, a young woman with no memories of her past finds herself embroiled in dangerous politics in England, in the land of the Fae. When sisters Muna and Sakti wake on the peaceful beach on the island of Jandabaik, they can't remember anything, except that they are bound, as only sisters can be. They have been cursed by an unknown enchanter, and slowly Sakti starts to fade away. The only hope of saving her is to go to distant Britain, where the Sorceress Royal has established an academy to train women in magic. If Muna is to save her sister, she must learn to navigate high society and trick the English magicians into believing she is a magical prodigy. As she's drawn into their intrigues, she must uncover the secrets of her past and journey into a world with more magic than she has ever dreamed. Okay, so for the last one, I picked a really obscure book. The prompt is Dreaming Spies, a book that features acrobats or acrobatics. And for that, I selected Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. So for those who haven't heard, I'll read the blurb. Welcome to the world of the Grisha. Kaz Brecker and his crew of deadly outcasts have just pulled off a heist so daring even they didn't think they'd survive. But instead of divvying up a fat reward, they're back to fighting for their lives. Double-crossed and badly weakened, the crew is low on resources, allies, and hope. As powerful forces from around the world descend on Ketterdam to root out the secrets of the dangerous drug known as Jurdaparam, old rivals and new enemies emerge to challenge Kaz's cunning and test the team's fragile loyalties. A war will be waged on the city's dark and twisting streets, a battle for revenge and redemption that will decide the fate of the Grisha world. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Have you read any of these? Do you have other suggestions for the prompts? If you'd like to consider yourself tagged, please do so, or go ahead and give me answers in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts on some of these prompts. Some of them, like I said, were really challenging, but this tag was really fun. Thank you again to Larry Has Opinions for tagging me on this. Please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'd love to continue the conversation. And until next time, happy reading.